Okay, so in this video, we're going to be talking about the first half of our tree diagram notes. So tree diagrams are really helpful whenever you have multiple options branching off from previous options. So it says, make a tree diagram to show the group the possible paths customers might take entering the maze in the upper, middle, or lower path, proceeding to an exit with or without a pumpkin. How is this tree diagram different from others you have worked with before? So we've got this path here. It's a little maze, and we've got three paths, upper, middle, and lower. And now depending on which path you take might lead you to pumpkins or no pumpkins. And we need to see what the probability is of reaching the pumpkins on each of these paths. At the very beginning, okay, I'm going to scroll down just a little bit. Let me zoom out. At the very beginning, we have the start, okay? And now from the start, you'll notice that we have three different paths. So we've got upper, middle, and lower, right? So upper, middle, and lower. And now, since there are three possible paths, at the very beginning, you have a 1 in 3 chance of going on any of these paths. And then from there, if you notice on this upper path, we've got a split. We can go up or down. So on the upper path, we have 2 more paths from there. Okay? So depending on which path you take, though, the upper path leads to no pumpkins. The lower leads to pumpkins. So the upper is no pumpkins. The lower is pumpkins. So each of these, though, since there's 2 options, you have a 1 in 2 chance of reaching it. The middle only has 1 path, and it always leads to pumpkins. Okay, so the middle goes to pumpkins. Now, since there's only 1 path, your probability is 1. Okay, it's 1 out of 1, or just 1. And then the lower is the same thing as the upper. The upper part, the top option gives you pumpkins, the bottom option gives you no pumpkins. So we've got 2 paths right here, so pumpkins and no pumpkins. So probability of this one is 1 out of 2. On this one is 1 out of 2. And so we've got 5 options total. The very top one, we've got 1/2. To get from start to this spot right here, we have 1 in 3 chance and 1 in 2 chance. Anytime we have and, we multiply. So 1 out of 3 times 1 out of 2 gives you 1 out of 6. This one is 1 out of 3 and 1 out of 2. So it's the same thing. 1 out of 3 times 1 out of 2 equals 1 out of 6. The middle has 1 out of 3 and 1. So 1 out of 3 times 1 is just 1 out of 3. And then the lower part is going to be the same as the upper. 1/3 times 1/2, 1/3 times 1/2. So we've got 1/3 times 1/2, 1/3 times 1/2, and both of these will equal 1/6. Okay, so the most likely option out of each individual one is going to be the middle. If you go to the middle, you have a 1 in 3 chance of going to the middle and reaching pumpkins. So this is what a tree diagram basically looks like. Now on this next one, it asks us to create a tree diagram showing all possible sandwiches. So they give us a menu, right? They tell us they can have bread, meat, and cheese. And so out of bread, we have 2 options. Out of meat, we have 3. Out of cheese, we have 4. So if I'm looking at a tree diagram. Remember, I've got my starting point, and from there we got to choose a bread. Okay, so we've got two possible paths for bread. We've got white and wheat. And since there's two options, you have a 1 in 2 chance of going on each of them. Now from there, we need to choose a meat. So each of these breads have three options. You can have ham, turkey, or beef. So I've got ham, turkey, beef, ham, turkey, beef. So ham, turkey, beef, ham, turkey, beef. So since there's three options, we have 1 out of 3 chance for each of them. And then the last thing is a cheese. So you can have a cheese, 1 of 4 cheeses on any of these sandwiches. So you can have a ham sandwich. You have a sandwich with white bread, ham, and American or Swiss or provolone or Munster. So each of these meats have 4 options: American, Swiss, provolone, or Munster. So American, Swiss, provolone, or Munster. This one also has 4 options: American, Swiss, provolone, Munster. So I'm just going to go through and give 4 possibilities for each of these. Okay, so this is our tree diagram. And you see, as you keep going, these possibilities keep getting greater and greater. And if we're trying to see how many total possible sandwiches there are, you could count each of these individual values, or you can just see there's 2 bread options and 3 meat options and 4 cheese options. So if we're doing and, it's going to be multiplied. So 2 times 3 times 4, which equals 24 possible choices. So, question 3, it says assume that you make all possible sandwich combinations and that you can use um, that you can using one choice from each column of ingredients in the table: bread, meat, and cheese. Then someone puts all these different sandwiches in unmarked sacks on the counter. Given this information, answer the questions 3 through 7. First question is, what is the probability you will select a sandwich with white bread? Well, half of these sandwiches are going to have white bread, right? All of these sandwiches up here have white. So out of the 24 possible sandwiches, 12 of them have to have white, right? So 12 out of 24, or 50%. What is the probability you will select a sandwich with American cheese? So if we go through here, we can look. There is one right here. This is American cheese, American cheese, American cheese. I'm just counting all the A's on my list. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So out of all 24 sandwiches, 6 of them are with American cheese. So 6 out of 24, that's the same thing as 0.25 or 25%. Question 5 says, what is the probability that you will select a sandwich on wheat bread with ham and any cheese? So I'm going to look at this. I need to look at sandwiches with wheat bread. Okay, so out of the 2 possible bread options, only one of them will work. Okay, 1 out of the 2 bread options, we need wheat, right? With ham, so there are 3 possible meat options. We need ham, so that means only 1 out of the 3 meat options. And now it says any cheese. So in total we had 4 cheese options, and we can choose any of them. So we don't have any restrictions on that. So we can say 4 out of the 4 cheese options. So if we look at this, bread, meat, cheese, we can see 1 times 1 times 4 gives us 4. 2 times 3 times 4 gives us 24. So that means there's a 4 out of 24 chance, and which is the same thing as 0.167 or 16.7%. Okay. Question 6 says, what is the probability you will select a sandwich on white bread that has either beef or turkey and has provolone cheese? So let's look at it. We need white bread. So out of the two options for bread, only one will work. That is either beef or turkey. So we have three meat options, but two of them are the ones we need. We need one of these two, beef or turkey. So we can have two out of the three possible meats. And then it has to have provolone cheese. So we're just narrowed down to one out of the four possible cheeses. So 1 times 2 times 1 gives us 2. 2 times 3 times 4 gives us 24, which is going to be 0.083 or 8.3%. Question 7, what is the probability you will select a sandwich that is neither beef nor Munster cheese? So it doesn't specify a bread, so we don't have to worry about restricting our bread. So we can have white or wheat. So we've got 2 out of 2 possible options. For our meat, we cannot have beef. So that just leaves ham or turkey, right? So we've got 2 possible meat options out of the 3. And then for cheeses, it just tells us it can't be Munster cheese. So out of the 4 possible options for cheese, we still have 3 of them available to us. So 2 out of 2 times 2 out of 3 times 3 out of 4, we got 2 times 2 times 3, which gives us 12. And then 2 times 3 times 4 is 24, which is 0.5 or 50%. Question 8 says, with 3 probability questions that can be answered using your tree diagram, and then provide the answers. So we can write a probability problem. There's multiple ways you can write one. But an example of this would be something like probability of a sandwich without American cheese. Well, we didn't specify a bread, so we still have our 2 options. We didn't specify a meat, so we still have all 3 options there. And then for a sandwich without American cheese, we know that there are 4 total cheeses, but we're not allowed to have one of them. So we still have 3 options left out of the 4. So 2 times 3 times 3, that's going to be 18. And then 2 times 3 times 4 is 24. So 18 out of 24, that's 0.75 or 75%. So that's just one of the 3 options or multiple options that you could possibly have.